I've actually been thinking about this quite a bit, especially since Salman Rushdie was attacked. I had wanted to make a video about this, but I didn't. But you just dropped the punchline, Ty. If someone else is watching this out of context, a friend of mine on Twitter just said something which was precisely the punchline of this, what I'm going to read you right here. I should tell you first a little bit about Salman Rushdie. I ran into him a number of times, and we had some important interactions, at least one important interaction, very much on the matter of how to go about your life when there are dangers out to get you. Well, Ty and everyone else, this is from the Talmud. If you want to read the world's dumbest anti-Semitism, just type the word Talmud into Twitter. Unbelievable. Anti-Semites can be really, really stupid. Anyways, but the Talmud is this vast, vast corpus of writing, yada, yada. This little thing that I'm going to read you right here refers to events from shortly after the life and death of Jesus and the destruction of the Jewish temple, which took place shortly thereafter. And during the last bit of time that the Jews were not successfully, that they were holding out some hope of national sovereignty. In the year 67 through the year 135, the Jews were rebelling against Rome over and over and over again. And they were up against Rome, so they did not win. And they got whacked so hard in 135 that they gave up on the idea of learning how to defend themselves at all for the next nearly 2,000 years. For reals. Until the Holocaust was like, fine, we get it, we need to have an atom bomb. Like, fine, we get it. If you're going to like just gas chamber round everybody up, screw that shit. But this was a rough time at that time. And there was a leader, Rabbi Akiva, who was a very interesting fellow. My own speculative opinion is that he was possibly raised by some Jewish follower of Jesus. Although I should clarify that, when you talk about Jesus in those days, we're not really talking about, the kind of thing that people think about today in terms of Jesus. He was a Rebbe. He was, considered more or less like a Hasidic Rebbe, I would say, close enough as far as we can tell. More or less. There are differences, whatever. But, his father appears not to have known very much. Rabbi Akiva himself growing up didn't know very much, but he was a special, special person. And he actually, the very, 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 very few times where there are hints in the Talmud about anything to do with Christianity, because it was very dangerous to do so. I can't get into the story of throughout history about what this was like, but the Jews have gone through a hard time to keep their records as pure and as intact as possible, and they've done a pretty damn good job. But one of the few times where we hear like, a defense of the Jesusites and their movement is obliquely through a compliment towards Rabbi Akiva. Anyway, that's a separate point. I don't want to get too aside. But he was an incredible person as far as we can tell. This fellow Akiva, who later became Rabbi Akiva, and was involved in the final rebellion. He was involved in the final rebellion against Rome. Did not work out. Did not work out at all. The Romans caught him, and they had him in the Colosseum, and they combed his body with like combs of iron until he was dead. So that didn't work. Anyway, but he remained a very much beloved person up until this very day. So here's the story. Pamachas, it happened that Gazra Malchus Harsha'a, the evil empire, that's what it says, referring to Rome, the evil empire made a law, Shelo Ya'asku Yisrael b'Torah, that the Jews are not allowed to be involved in Torah. Torah is... It's a word that has so many different meanings. In this context, it more or less means Judaism. So, Pamachas Gazra Malchus Harsha'a Shelo Ya'asku Yisrael b'Torah. Once upon a time, not that long before then, but it happened, Pamachas, one time. Okay, sorry, this isn't a Hebrew and Aramaic lesson. Just trust me on the translation, more or less. The evil empire decreed that the Jews are not allowed to be involved in Torah study. So, Ba Papos ben Yehuda, there was a fellow Papos ben Yehuda, seems to have been possibly a merchant or something. He was a childhood friend of this fellow who became Rabbi Akiva. He knew him back in his earlier days as just plain Akiva. So ba Papas ben Yehuda, u'metzai l'Rabbi Akiva, shehaya makil kehilois berabim. Papas ben Yehuda came across Rabbi Akiva, who was gathering congregations full of people in public to study Torah, to be involved in Judaism. V'osek b'Torah, involving himself in Torah. Amarlo, Papa said to him, Akiva, iyata misyorim ipnei malchus? Akiva, aren't you afraid of the government? Amarloi, Rabbi Akiva answered him, Emshelcha mashal. Let me give you a metaphor you might understand. Amarloi, Rabbi Akiva said to him, Emshelcha mashal. Let me give you a metaphor. L'moha dover doime. You know what this is similar to? L'shul shahayim mahalech al gav hanahar, like a fox that's walking along the riverbank. V'ra'a dogim shahayim miskabtem imakim l'makim, and he saw schools of fish gathering and moving from place to place. Amar lehem, the fox says to the fish, Mipnei mahatem barchim, what are you running from? Amrullah, the fish said to him, Mipnei rishasayshim evin aleinu b'nei adam, because of the nets that the people throw on us. Amar lehem, the fox said to them, Ritzoinchem, maybe you would like sheta'alu liyabasha, to come up on land. Easier for the fox to eat them, right? Ritzoinchem sheta'alu liyabasha, maybe you want to come up on land. V'nadur aniva atem, and we'll live together, me and you. Kishem shedaru avoisheim uvesechem, like my fathers dwelt with your fathers. If that's some hint that they had thoughts about animals having a common ancestor, I can't say, but it's a wild phrase, whatever it might mean, in this metaphor. So, we'll live together. Kashem shedaru avaysom v'sechem, like my forefathers lived with your forefathers. Amrulai, the fish said to him, Atahu sha'omer malecha bikeach shebachayas. Are you the one they say is the smartest among the living things, the cleverest of animals? Loi pikeach ata, you're not clever. Ela tipesh ata, you're a fool. Bear in mind, Rabbi Akiva is responding to Papas Bar Yehuda with this analogy. He's basically saying, I'm not going to call you personally a fool, so you're like the fish who's talking, I'm the fox, or just I'm the fish, you're the fox. You think you're going to outsmart the Romans. If in a place where we get our life, the water within which we live, we are afraid, in a place that is death for us, the dry land, exponentially so. We're gonna, we're in danger, we're afraid, it's not good for us, we're not gonna go. Afanachnu, we too, Papas ben Yehuda, Achshav sha'anu yoshvim v'oiskim b'Torah. Here, now, when we are sitting and involving ourselves with Torah, shekosov ba, that is written about it, ki hu chayecha v'oirach yamecha, because it is your life, and it lengthens your days. Kach, im anu holchen u'muvatlen mimenu alachas kama v'kama. Thus, if we're in danger when we're sitting involved in Torah, then if we were to stop being involved in Torah, not get this sustenance, exponentially would be in danger. Well, it wasn't even a few days, until they captured and arrested Rabbi Akiva. No kidding, he's gathering crowds in public, rebelling against Rome. But here, see, I'm playing the fox. I'm playing the cynical fox. Rabbi Akiva was playing the pure, honest fish, not making complicated thoughts. So, it wasn't even a few days later, until they arrested Rabbi Akiva, and they tied him up in the prisons. And they also captured Papas ben Yehuda, the Chavashuhu Etzlei, and they tied him up right next to him. Amarlei, Rabbi Akiva said to him, Papos, mi haviachalakan? Who brought you here? I don't know exactly how sarcastic he's intending this, if because he kind of predicted this. Mi haviachalakan? Amuloi, Papos answered, Ashrecha, Rabbi Akiva. He didn't call him rabbi before, just plain Akiva. Ashrecha, Rabbi Akiva. Fortunate are you, Rabbi Akiva. Shenit pasta al divrei Torah. That you were arrested for the words of Torah. Oy loy lepapos shenitvas al dvorim betelim. Woe unto Papos, who was arrested for nonsense. Probably some tax-related issue with the Romans.